All right, we're here today with, and everybody know I'm terrible with names, so I'm going to let you give your own name, Pastor
Irvin Seamster
and
Stanley Talbert.
We're on Dad's Father's TV network. If you guys could quickly give a quick overview about the discussion today, and then what I'm going to do is specifically ask the question as relates to the $3.9 billion industry that child support feed into this mass incarceration. So first, Pastor, just give a quick overview about what we talked about today to some of the young men who's listening to out there right now.
Well, the Justice League of Texas is a new 501c3 organization that's been organized around the issue of mass incarceration, which imprisons 2.3 million precious souls. 1 million of them are African American. More African American males in prison than in chattel slavery a decade before the Civil War. And so today we were talking about Michelle Alexander's text, The New Jim Crow, and mass incarceration, and trying to just educate the community about mass incarceration, educate them, and then mobilize and galvanize them around this issue so we can change some of the laws that lead to mass incarceration.
Absolutely, absolutely. And being a young man yourself, definitely you got some younger folks in your, what I call the Pepsi generation, who need to hear
Right.
your voice on the mass incarceration and how they can avoid getting into this vicious cycle.
Yeah, I think that's a great question of how we can avoid it. But what I always say when people say that is that it is a systemic problem, and so it's twofold. We have to confront the systems, and I think that this conversation that we've had today is a part of confronting and educating people about that, because the onus is not only on young people like myself, but it's also on these laws and the system that perpetuate them. But also it's about us making good choices, right?
Right.
And so it's all about the system. It's also about us making good choices, and that's both young men and both young women.
Right. And the funny thing about it is we know there is a problem.
Absolutely.
Now, what I like to address is what feeds, and specific what I work with Dad's Fathers of Texas is, it's a $3.9 billion industry that feeds into this mass incarceration by way of child support. What these guys do, they whatever reason, whether they exit from the prison system or lost their job, they're not paying. And as one of the gentlemen spoke earlier, now they're beginning to avoid going to court because they don't want to go to jail.
Absolutely.
But in actuality, what they're doing, they're really feeding into the system. So quickly, Pastor, share your wisdom or knowledge or insight as relates to how child support is feeding into the same mass incarceration.
Well, I'm not as familiar with those numbers as I am with the numbers with the prison industrial complex.
Share that one.
But I do want to say that one of the things that we could do to empower young men and women, especially men who have to pay child support, or women, is that we need to find ways to employ these brothers. And so what I've asked some of my friends in the business community to do is to help to subsidize these brothers or hire these brothers and sisters, so when they come out of jail, they can have jobs, they can have a living wage, and if they don't have the skill set to earn a living wage, then we are partnering with business leaders, and what we'll do is mentor them. What we'll do is we'll teach them, give them a marketable skill so that they can make a living wage, and then they can take care of their children so they are not caught into this net with getting behind on their child support and not being able to take care of their families.
You made an interesting point there, and it popped in my head.
Yes, sir.
A lot of these guys are exiting the system, or they done had petty stuff.
Yes, sir.
And what happened is now they're running for their life.
Right.
Because lack of knowledge and lack of resources, knowing exactly what you just said exists.
Right.
So now we're the old school generation.
All right. Yeah, at least one of us is.
Don't let the young face fool you now. But how can we, being a pastor and being an advocate of child support, how can we get the word out to our young men that don't run face on the issue? And I know I put a timetable on this. I want us to talk about this a little in detail. But how can we, as the old school, the baby boomers say, look, young man, running is going to create the problem even worse. How can we collaboratively get the churches, the organization, the communities to really get this word out to these young men? What would be your feedback from the numbers that you have? That's a big issue.
All right, right. Well, one of the things we can do is first we have to educate, and we have to organize. They need to know that they are not alone. They can partner with the Justice League of Texas. They can partner with other organizations. They can get legal representation, because one of the things the Justice League of Texas will do, we will help to do some pro bono legal work for them to help them with child support. And as a matter of fact, Myra McIntosh is a defense attorney and family law attorney here in Dallas. She has agreed to represent some of these brothers pro bono. And she's going to organize some of her friends and encourage some of her friends to do likewise, so that they can get legal representation. They can get a job making a living wage. We can do reconciliation where we can bring them and help them to work with their families. This Christmas, we're going to have a toy giveaway, enclosed giveaway for brothers and sisters who are incarcerated. We're going to make sure that their children get toys, they get clothes, they get coats, they get shoes, they get school supplies, and we're going to do that for our organization, for the community, and hopefully this will facilitate some positive feedback from the community, and other organizations, corporations will join us in helping these brothers and sisters get their lives back together. And
that'd be very helpful. And, and definitely, I will hope we get a chance to come out and cover it for you guys. So
all right, outstanding, outstanding.
Definitely. Now, young man, he brings a different perspective.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, you've heard what we've spoken about here, and your generation, I think, is the prime market to take this into the next, as they mentioned in the discussion, the next 40-year contract. Being someone who look like them and deal with them on a daily basis, give them a word of wisdom if you're in it, and if you're not, how to avoid it.
Okay, and it's interesting that just before we came over here, that Dr. Seamster and I, we were talking about the work of intergenerational work, and I think everything has to be taken with that approach, because there are some things that I know that Dr. Seamster may not know, but there's more things that he may know that I don't know. So I think we have to work together, and you can see that, you know, in our communities as well as in churches. It's very important for communities to work together, especially in this movement. So that's one of the things that I would say that we need to do, is to work together.
You know, because a lot of times we, as, and I'm gonna say young black men, we are accustomed to running versus saying, hey, I need help. And us being the baby boomers era, wink, wink, you know, we've learned how to swallow our pride.
Right.
But now knowing that, like I say, specifically I target the child support industry, it's $3.9 billion in 2015.
Right.
And we were not even going to talk about just the incarceration industry itself.
Right.
So in closing remark, Pastor, and I forgot your name, Stanley. Give them a 60-second commercial on why they should stop running and address the issue face on. And I see Miss McIntosh walked up. We're going to bring her in.
We would love to have her.
So give a young man some advice as a pastor, as a father, and as an advocate of trying to avoid this mass incarceration. What should they do to prevent it, and if you're in it, how to fix it?
Well, one of the things you need to know is that we love you. You are important to us. A lot of people are saying that you are lost. You're not lost. You've been left. And now we are coming back to take back what's ours. You belong to us. We love you. We're going to partner with you. Anything we can do to serve you, to empower you, you can count on the Justice League of Texas.
Absolutely, absolutely. And being a young man, let a young man know who looks like you. What have you done successfully to avoid the system, and what advice would you give them to say to remain out of the system?
Right, and again, I think it's for young men and women.
Correct.
Absolutely.
Men and women.
I would say that it's
corrected.
And again, the onus is not completely on them, but there are some good choices they can make, because even I have been, you know, stopped by police officers, you know, and I have a job. I'm a minister as well, and so I've paid a lot of tickets for things. I've been profiled, right? So we understand that part of it, but there are some decisions and choices that you can make, being wise, and as Dr. Seamster said, there are people to partner with you who want to help, right?
Right. Yeah. You know, because the first thing we want to do is get an attitude. Being a young man, and I've been there, done that, been X amount of years ago, but the first thing when the police officers pull us over as a young man, the testosterone get a little, you know, volcano-ish over there, and with that, what's some more encouraging word during a police stop, routine or not, that you would tell a young man to avoid just getting completely in the snare? Take that ticket and run. What did you do successful to avoid getting in that cycle?
Well, again, sometimes there are things you can do, sometimes there's things that you can't do. Blessingly, I had a father, who taught me some things, but everybody does not have a father. I do not have parents, but I just kind of sat there and just went through the motions. He asked me to go out and get behind the car, asked me if I had drugs. I've never seen drugs in my life, right? Held me 20 minutes. I was very nervous, right? But I grew up in the church. I had people to support me. I knew how to just sit there, but some people don't have those resources. So
right.
I think it's really up to us, right, to provide those resources and be in partnership with them.
Absolutely, because at the end of the day, young men, that we're talking about, you don't have to run. Like he said, the main thing he emphasizes: remain patient, follow instructions,
right.
and then at the end of the rainbow, you might
right.
get a citation,
right.
but at least you live another day to fight a new battle.
Absolutely.
And that's the key to it right
absolutely.
now.
Absolutely.
Because if you do something too aggressive, the TV shows what it could potentially end up to. Well, hey, I appreciate the interview, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you.
And hopefully we can do this again.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Look forward to it.